In this video, I want to show you why a big lead in development is so dangerous and why you should never allow your opponent such a big lead in development that you are not able to catch up with your opponent and you're not going to be able to get your king safe. I'm going to show you a game that was played very long time ago in 1858. And the star at that time was Paul Murphy, and he played this game against a sir called Littleton, and this was actually a blindfold exhibition. And yeah, that's also very impressive that Murphy conducted this whole game blindfold, and it's actually, I think, just a very, very well played game and also highly instructive. So let's look at the opening. White played e4, e5, and now Murphy played move f4, which is the King's Gambit, which is a popular opening at some point in the past, especially in the 19th century. There were a lot of gambits which were popular, and one of the most famous gambits is this King's Gambit, which nowadays is not so popular anymore because black has just so many good options against it. Usually such gambits don't really work, but you do need to know how to handle such gambits, and that's also something I am going to talk about in this course. Black took, he takes f4, knight f3, and also the next move that black played, g5, is a move that I have played myself, and which is yeah, completely fine. Actually, the engines just think that black has an advantage here, but I don't think it is all that easy. Probably black is a bit better, but the position could be easier to play for white. Murphy played h4, and now after g4, knight e5. And here black has two options. The move that I always thought was very solid was the move knight f6. But there are some very sharp variations here. After knight takes g4, there's knight takes e4. And now queen e2 doesn't really work. That looks very good. Because it looks like it is almost winning material, because white is now threatening to play the move d3, but black actually can play the move queen e7 here, and it would be really nice if white could take with the queen on e4, and then play knight f6 check, but unfortunately that's not allowed, because our own king is in check. So, instead of queen e2, white better plays move d3, and this leads to some big complications early on. Black can play knight g3. Now bishop take f4. The best is now queen e7 check, and now after bishop e2, black should not be greedy and take the rook on h1, because in that case white can play the move bishop g5, and the black king is under a very severe attack here. And after queen e6, there's knight f6 check. The king has to now run, king e7, knight e5, king d6, and after knight bc3, white has a winning attack here. There's just too many threats, and yeah, this is something you rather avoid. So after bishop e2, instead of taking the rook on h1, black's best move is rook g8, and there are actually games with this position which have illustrated that black is fine here, but just looking at this position, it's clear that it's very messy, and maybe something that I would rather avoid. So the move played by Littleton, d6, actually is a good choice. Knight takes g4, but here I rather would go knight f6, and then after knight takes f6, queen takes f6. I think there is a very double-edged position. Black has quite easy development here. I believe that black should go knight c6, develop the bishop and castle to the queen side. And meanwhile, there are some weaknesses also white's king side, most notably the g3 square. Also, it's not clear where the white king is going to go. Maybe white will try to castle to the queen side as well, because castling to the king side leaves the pawn on h4 hanging. Instead, black played the move bishop e7, and now Morphy started to play very energetically. He had a very good feeling for the initiative. And even though black is attacking the pawn on h4 with this last move, Morphy does not care about it and doesn't protect it, but instead tries to complete as quickly as possible the development. So with d4, white is again sacrificing a pawn, and after bishop take h4, white is a pawn up, but after knight f2, white has these nice central pawns. And if white can play bishop take f4 next, then white actually has a great position. And here black played a move which might look logical, but actually it's pretty bad. Black took on f2. And with this move, black is spoiling white's right to castle, but I believe this is not so important, because white's king will be quite safe anyway, as all of black's pieces are on the back rank and are not in a position to attack the white king. Meanwhile, white has the pair of bishops and a nice center. So already I think that white has an advantage. And black's next move is a very natural developing move, is actually already losing the game. So what should black have done here? The best move, according to the engines, is queen f6, which is also a bit strange move. Of course, I understand the queen is now protecting the pawn on f4, but it's usually important not to develop the queen too early. But here, black has the right to do so. Actually, is more or less obliged to do so. It is important to keep hanging on to the extra pawn, and also the queen on f6 is putting some pressure on white's d4 pawn. If white goes knight c3, threatening knight d5, then black can play knight d7. And although I would still take white here, this is definitely better than what happened in the game. Black played knight f6, and after knight c3, queen e7, now white took on f4, and white has a great advantage. First of all, white has the pair of bishops, white has a nice center and a better pawn structure. So just a great success, this king's gambit for white. And black's best move is bishop e6 here. But white is objectively doing very, very well, and I think we should be happy that black took this pawn on e4, which is actually a blunder, because it allowed a very beautiful finish to this game. Knight takes e4, queen e4, and now bishop b5 check. And as you see, all of these moves are coming now with tempo. White develops first this bishop and also introduces the threat of rook to e1, pinning the queen. So black has to move the king, and the king doesn't have so many options, because if the king goes to d8, then bishop g5 is winning. So king has to go to f8, but now after bishop h6, king g8, this looks just very uncomfortable with this king on g8, and also this rook on h8 has no squares. The only thing that is needed is to give a check, and white played here rook h5 with a little threat of rook g5, so bishop f5 was played. Queen d2, very precise again. The threat is queen g5 check, followed by queen d8 and mate, and there's no defense. Another threat is rook e1. So black can try to protect the back rank with knight c6, but in that case white can mate with queen g5 check, bishop g6. Now let's say bishop takes c6, queen c6, or b takes c6, and queen f6, and there's no defense. So instead black played bishop g6, and now after rook e1 black resigns. So yeah, black was a bit greedy in the start of the game, and after that white got very quickly a big advantage in development, which was yeah, just led to such a strong initiative that black couldn't parry all the threats anymore. So that's why if you are going to accept a gambit, I believe that you should be very well prepared. And of course, back in 1858, chess was a completely different game than it was now. There were no engines, and opening theory was far less developed. But for now, I believe that yeah, it's important that if you are choosing to pick up some strong line, some line in which you are accepting the sacrifice, that you are well prepared, because otherwise you can very quickly lose. Whenever you're black and your opponent is playing a gambit, this can be quite scary, especially if you don't know the theory. Yeah, I have selected a game between two Turkish players. They don't have very high ratings, but I thought this game was very useful to show. I'm just going to show you the first couple of moves. The players, they are called Bogaksa and Aydin, and I hope I pronounced that in the right way. So the game started with e4, and black replied e5, and this has always been my main response to e4 as well. So I know quite a lot about the gambits that white has at its disposal here. We already had a look at the move f4 in a Morphy game, but white can also play the move d4, and after e takes d4, c3. And yeah, this can very quickly become scary. White is sacrificing a pawn and hopes that the quick development and easy development are giving him or her a strong initiative. So, for example, in the game, black played d takes c3, and now white plays bishop c4, even sacrificing a second pawn. Now, after d takes c3, there's also knight takes c3, which is also a well-known gambit. And yeah, black should be precise, but when black is okay. But I will show you a bit later what has always been my response to this kind of gambits. After bishop c4, black took on b2, and bishop take b2 is forced, and now bishop b4 check. And here white did something very interesting. White can play here the move knight c3, developing another piece, and also threatening moves like queen b3, which is attacking the bishop on b4, and also f7 is a weakness. So yeah, black should be careful, or else black will not get out of the opening. But in this game, white played the move king f1. And yeah, so with this move, white keeps this diagonal open. Knight c3 would have blocked the bishop on b2. And now if black goes knight f6, for example, then the move e5 looks very scary. The knight doesn't have any support and now has to either jump to e4 or come back to g8. And of course, having to play knight g8 really looks like that things are not going well. In fact, black is still okay after knight e4. The best move here is bishop take f7, king f7, queen d5 check, king e8, and now queen takes e4. And according to my engine, after queen e7, black has a playable position here. Black is a pawn up and even has the pair of bishops. Of course, white has some initiative to show for the pawn, but definitely black can play in this way. But in the game, black already blundered, played the move f6, and this allowed the move bishop take g8. And white now has a winning position because after rook take g8, there are a couple of unprotected pieces, and queen b3 is winning white a bishop. So the game continued for a while, and in the end white converted the material advantage. Now, yeah, such Gambit play looks very scary. How to meet this kind of play? Well, when you play e4, e5, and your opponent goes for an early d4, I suggest you take on d4, and after c3, here the safest option black has is the move d5. So we are not interested in the pawn at all. We are also going for quick development. If white now takes on d5, then black can recapture, c takes d4, and now, as you can see, black's bishops can develop very easily. Black can go knight c6, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop e2, bishop b4, and even castle queenside. And yeah, black has zero problems in this position. And even after c3, d takes c3, well, knight c3, yeah, this should be fine for black. But after bishop c4, black's antidote is to the safest way to play this position is to go d5 again. And after d5, if white now takes with the bishop, black can now start developing some pieces with knight f6. Sorry, I actually made a mistake. C takes b2 is fine, bishop takes b2, and now here the move d5. And after bishop takes d5, there's knight f6. And now, it looks like white is winning material with bishop take f7. However, black can just recapture, and after queen takes d8, black regains the queen with the move bishop b4 check, and simultaneously attacking the queen. So white has to play queen d2, bishop take d2, and knight takes d2, and the position is balanced. So, yeah, to whatever gambit white is playing, the solution is very often to go very quickly d5. After knight f3, for example, knight c6, d4, e takes d4. Here, white can play the move c3, and black's safest reply is d5. There's also queen e7. This is very interesting. Queen e7 attacking the pawn on e4, but in my games, I usually chose to move d5, and after e d5, queen d5, c takes d4. Yeah, we actually have a position that we've already seen via a different move order. If white goes f4 here, black of course can accept this pawn, but it also makes a lot of sense to go d5 straight away. d5, and after e takes d5, either the move e4, after which black is playing a gambit for themselves, or e takes f4. Both are well established lines, and yeah, they are have a good reputation, and you can study them and play them. So yeah, after e4, e5, what else is there? White can go knight f3, knight c6, and here c3, which is not strictly a gambit, but once again I believe that here black's best move is move d5. So whenever you get the chance, and in this case, after the move c3, the c3 square is not available for the white knight anymore, you can just go d5, and black has good play here. So that's all about how to handle gambit play of your opponent.